morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice of radio. So today, we're having a look at a lovely new Vikavolt card. Now, I saw this card when I woke up at 5 in the morning, baby and all that, and I just assumed it was a reprint of the Vikavolt we've all been playing from Sun and Moon that was also released as a promo. It's got one ability. It's got one attack. Now, it turns out it's actually a completely different Vikavolt, ladies and gentlemen. And I tell you what, there's a lot to like about this. Now, our translation comes from the lovely David Hochmann. Of course it does. And starting off with the basics here, I mean, look, it's a Stage 2 Vikavolt. It's basically what we would expect. 150 HP is directly in line with the other Vikavolt. Weakness to fighting is regrettable because of stuff like Lichen Rock and Buzzwole, but it was pretty much always going to happen, unfortunately, if it was going to be a lightning Pokemon. The retreat cost is rather high at 2, which is 1 lower than the other Vikavolt, so, you know, I suppose that's a good thing. Resistance to metal is similarly expected, and stuff like Registeel will have a bad time. But this fits what we've seen a lot lately. We looked at a new Malamar the other day, and we said, hang on a second, this is kind of cool because we're already playing Malamar, so this will fit nicely into a Malamar deck. And we looked at a new Quagsire the other day and we said, well, this is quite cool. We're already playing Quagsire, this will fit nicely into a Quagsire deck. And now we're looking at this and we can go, well, we're already playing the Vikavolt from Sun and Moon. Some people still play it with Tapu Bulu, more often it is popular with Rayquaza. And that's kind of cool, because it means that we've got a deck ready built for this. But is it actually any good? And the ability here says, if there is any stadium in play, yours or your opponent's, this Pokemon has no weakness. Now this is quite nice, because actually it's got 150 HP, which is not insignificant. It's not up there with Empoleon, and it's nowhere near my boy Mamoswine. But it ain't half bad, ladies and gentlemen. It's not bad at all. And then no weakness just gives it really quite a lot of bulk. The thing is, like we said, it's got a bad weakness, so we need to try and mitigate that. And if we have no weakness, then take something like a Lichen Rock. Even with a Diancie Prism Star, they're only hitting 130, and they're not getting a KO here. A Buzzwole from Forbidden Light with Sledgehammer if you've got 4 prizes remaining. And they've got a Diancie Prism Star. They only hit 140 and they don't get a KO. It's not just that you've got no weakness, although obviously having no weakness is great. It's the fact that you're actually avoiding some really key numbers here in the process. You got a bad weakness, but this one mitigates it almost entirely. And what's kind of fun is if you're playing it with Tapu Bulu, then you actually end up in this brilliant situation where your support Pokemon, Vikavolt, has no weakness, and your main attacker, Tapu Bulu, has no weakness. Now, if you're playing Rayquaza, you've got Fairy weakness, but it's always nice to not have multiple weaknesses. If you can get away from this, that really is quite funky and quite awesome. It's not a reason to play the card like Strong Charge is a reason to play the other one, but it is a handy bonus. So what does the attack do? Well, it does 120 damage, and if you're willing to discard all the lightning energy attached to it, it does 220 damage. This, ladies and gentlemen, I can really get on board with. Now, starting off doing 120 damage is a little bit of a pain, because there's a whole bunch of Pokemon like Buzzwole, like Granbull, like White Kyurem, who have 130, which is slightly annoying, yes? But let's not forget that you've got Electro Power here. So as annoying as it is, you can play an Electro Power, and then you're doing 150, and all these non-GXs will be going down. Although there's plenty of Stage 2s like Dragonite that have 160, and you'll be 10 damage short. But you'll get opposing Vikavolt and all of that, and you are hitting Empoleon for weakness, so, you know, at least there is that. I don't like having to use Electro Power when I want to get a KO on a non-GX. But I do like being able to get a KO on a non-GX. I mean, something like Granbull against Rayquaza is just going to run through it quite nicely. This has just that little bit more bulk, and only gives up one prize. Although both Granbull and White Kyurem will get a one-hit KO on this, which is slightly regrettable. So it's alright for taking down non-GXs, and then there's a reason to play it for that. But then again, the other Vikavolt can take down non-GXs. The other Vikavolt has essentially a better version of this attack. Because the other Vikavolt does 150 for Lightning Treble colourless and discards free energy. But we need to compare the two Vikavolt at the moment, because actually, the other Vikavolt for non-GXs is better. Yeah, it's got a weakness and that sucks, but it does 150 without needing an Electro Power, which is a much better number, and it's free colourless. Now that's important, because what you do, you put one energy on Vikavolt, a lightning energy, and then Strong Charge, energy from your hand, boom. It doesn't even have to be lightning energy initially. If you've got one energy on Vikavolt, you use Strong Charge to put a lightning and a grass on, add a fourth energy, and you can replenish this in a single turn. The problem with the new Vikavolt is that you need to discard all the lightning energy, which means you need to attach free lightning energy to use this again. And that's one from Strong Charge, one from your hand, and now I suppose we need to hope you've got a second Vikavolt out. Now don't sleep on Tapu Koko, I always mention this for lightning Pokemon, because it's crazy good. Tapu Koko Prism Star, when it's on the bench, you can put it in the Lost Zone and attach one energy from the discard to each of two bench Pokemon. It's phenomenal. So if you're trying to take out non-GXs, it's a worse version of the other Vikavolt, don't worry your pretty little head about it. But if you want to take out GXs, this is great. Because don't get me wrong, right, that Vikavolt, the one we've been playing from Sun and Moon, it hits 150, that's Marshadow. And then with a Choice Band, that's 180, so something like Rayquaza. One Electro Power, that's 210, that's Zoroark, we can get there. But this new Vikavolt just hits 220. So Zoroark just goes down. And with a Choice Band, you go up to 250, and that's going to get stuff like Metagross. So you don't even ever need to dabble in Electro Power, or to put it another way, you will rarely need Electro Power, but you will only ever need one Electro Power or a Choice Band, and you're ready to go. And this is where you see a significant advantage over the other Vikavolt. When you're against non-GXs, the other Vikavolt is better. And I don't think that's a particularly controversial statement. It's got the ability which accelerates energy, it does more base damage, and it's got a much easier attack cost to pay after you've discarded the free energy. However, if you're against GXs, this is wonderful and brilliant, and you're getting those key KOs. That's why this is good. We're playing the other Vikavolt for Strong Charge, and we know it's a decent attacker, especially if we've got two Vikavolt out. And the other Vikavolt, the one from Sun and Moon, the one I keep talking about, still really good for taking out non-GXs. But against GXs, I mean, look, here's the thing. If you're playing a Rayquaza deck, you're probably not playing Electro Power. If you're playing a Tapu Bulu deck, you're probably not playing Electro Power. So as much as I'm sitting here saying, hey, you can get the KO of Electro Power, those decks ain't going to find room for it. Whereas you will be playing Choice Band. And then this one comes in very nicely. Non-GX's Vikavolt, the old one. GX's Vikavolt, the new one. While we're here, we should have a quick chat about stadiums. In terms of stadiums, we don't see a huge amount of stadiums played in these Vikavolt lists at the moment. Obviously, Thunder Mountain as a lightning-specific Prism Star Stadium is a good shout, and one that does see, well, should see a little bit of play, at least a little bit here and there. And we can always play something like Ether Paradise Conservation Area for if we're playing Tapu Bulu, to give it a little bit more bulk. But there aren't even that many stadiums played, so to go back to the ability quickly before we finish, please do bear this in mind that these are generally not a stadium-heavy deck. The lack of weakness is fun, it's not the reason to play it. To be frank, the reason to play this is it fits very nicely into a Vikavolt deck. If you're playing Vikavolt anyway, this will slide in very nicely indeed. At which point you've got a non-GX that can take out GXs. Because you've already got Vikavolt, and a bunch of them are playing Delmise. as a counter to non-GX Pokemon because it's got an attack that hits for 130 and only gives up one prize. But Down Mize ain't taking out GXs. So if you want a non-GX attacker that takes out GXs and fits beautifully into that deck, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm giving it free Wossies. It's a classic free Wossie card. It's not stunning or amazing, and you're not going to be playing it in a whole bunch of different decks and all of that. But in Vikavolt decks anyway, it's a really nice one-card tech that can really help your matchups. Henceforth, you need to have a copy in your binder. So that makes it a free Wossie card. But I'd like to know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen. So please let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but I would please ask you to remember the most important rule of all. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWazzy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk Transformers and Keyforge and other games, and it's fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.